My name is Jacob Anderson. This is my presentation on using ALEKS in the classroom, and I teach at Roosevelt High School. First of all, ALEKS is a math program that I've been using for the past couple of years now, which it has a bunch of different features on it. Some of the main features are it meets your students where they're at. It makes differentiated learning so much easier. And I mean, the obvious, it grades for you. They can do homework on there, and all of that stuff works so smoother than any program that I've ever used before. So my goal in this video is twofold. First is to explain how it works and show you some of its features. And then second, I'm also going to try to convince you to start using it, to give it a try. For those of you that have heard about it but just don't really want to get into the whole the online learning situation, I get it, but I don't think you really know yet. And I'd like you to give this one a try because, like I said, it's unlike any other program that I've used in the past. And there's some pretty bad programs out there. So the first thing that you're going to do when you log in to ALEKS for the first time is set up a couple of classes. So however many classes you have. Personally, I had 5 classes. I have 3 Algebra 1s and 2 Geometries. And so what I did was I set up my classes, and then I pulled from a master template. The ALEKS comes with like a master template of what standards you want to hit and specifically what topics you want to hit. And we're going to get into all this in just a second. But even for my school, we had somebody set that up for us. So my instructional coach, along with the head of the algebras from each school in the district, kind of came together and they set up what they thought would be good for the students to learn. So once they set all that stuff up, they sent out the master template. We were able to copy it and paste it. And then after that, we had a little bit of leniency on what we wanted to do. If you wanted to delete a topic or add a new topic or add some extra stuff, you could do that. That master template was just basically a setup for maybe new teachers that weren't really sure where they were supposed to be yet with some of this stuff. Okay, so what does it look like? This is our teacher dashboard. This is what it looks like when you sign in, and we're going to go through a bunch of this stuff here, but let's see. So you've got your instructor information. You've got the last time you logged in, your email, how many students you have in all of your classes, and your total number of classes. I only have 5 classes. I set up one extra class for myself because I'm going to be teaching a new class next year, and I just wanted to check it out a little bit. So I was able to pull from that master template, obviously, and just to kind of see what it looked like and stuff. So I also can look at my recently viewed classes. That's that second box there in the top middle. My recently viewed classes. Now, I don't really know why that would be important, but I do like if I was in period 1 and I come back and I wanted to click on period 1 again, I could do that and look a little bit more in depth on those periods. But you can also look at, you can look at, there's a drop down box above what you guys can see right now to find all your classes too. Any announcements that ALEKS is giving you is going to be on there. But down on the bottom here, that's when we get into the good stuff. So first of all, students not recently logged in. Now, I would like to eventually make this a blended learning class where I have the students come in, they work on their own for the most part, and they watch videos of me teaching these topics. So each topic, I guess I can get into this a little bit too. When they get in here and they go onto their topics, what they're going to do is they're going to see a problem, and they're going to have to complete that problem 3 times in a row. Make sure that that's important to tell your students that it has to be in a row, just not 3 times, because if they do get one wrong, it'll actually push them back and they'll have to do it again. So make sure that they do them 3 times in a row. And so my goal in my blended learning classroom would be make a video for each of those topics so they could watch the video, they could take notes if they wanted to, or I would probably make it mandatory, but they would take notes on it, and then they would go into ALEKS and they'd attempt the topic. If they get it wrong, ALEKS offers them its own explanation. So they could go back and watch your video, or they could check the explanation on ALEKS, and whichever one works better, that's what works for them. They complete the topic, then they go back to another video, they complete another topic, and back and forth. And then my job would just be to roam around the classroom, and if anybody's got any questions, they raise their hand and I kind of come to them and help out. But other things that I can do is on ALEKS here on my teacher dashboard, I can look at the bottom left corner here. It says students that are not recently logged in. It's very easy to tell if you're not logging into ALEKS and doing your homework in a blended learning classroom where it's kind of self-paced. And I blacked out the students' names here, but the student at the top hadn't logged in since April. This student for me stopped coming to class in April. So this would be something that stands out quite a bit in my ALEKS teacher dashboard. So, but then also we can look at in the bottom middle there, we've got average progress by course product. So I only have 2 classes, Algebra 1 and Geometry. In general, all of my algebra classes made 81% of the way through the topics, meaning everyone on average, my average class average this year was 81% in Algebra 1. It was 80% in Geometry. So kind of cool to see that they're the same, even though they're completely different things. You can tell that the students were basically the same. About 80% of them got the stuff completed. Okay, so now average progress by class. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see each class's progress. So my geometry class, one of the geometry classes was 88% through, which means my other one didn't make it that far through. It was probably in the 70s somewhere. And then my algebra classes, 85%, 81%. And if I scrolled down, which I can't do right now because I'm on a presentation, you could see the other ones as well. Okay, so next. So this is how you would choose a class, like I was stating at the beginning. If you scrolled up on your teacher dashboard, you can come over and you can click a drop down. You see that I've got my 3 algebras and my 2 geometries on there as well. I guess I don't have geometry written in front of them. I typed that in there. I must have just forgotten. But I knew that was my period 6 and period 7 class. If I click on one of those, it takes me to a specific dashboard for each of those classes. And now this is where the information really gets good. I really like this stuff, and we're going to go specifically through each one of these now. So class information. Obviously, I've got my class code. That's how the students log in. It's just like if you're using Google Classroom, right? I don't even use that anymore because I've got a Google site. But for Google Classroom, you have a class code. It's the same thing here. You give them the class code, and they're automatically in. You can see I've got 20 students in the class. The class duration, I extended it because of summer school. If some students needed the class a little bit longer. And that's actually kind of a cool thing to talk about too. If you have summer school, you just push this to them in the summer. You don't have to worry about anything. Their progress stays the same. The person that teaches the summer school picks it up. They don't have to redo anything. You've got it all set up for them. They just have to complete more of the ALEKS course, which is really cool. I didn't have to really set up anything for summer school this year. But then your course product, the grade, and the instructor are also on there. Okay, so this is your individual class ALEKS pie report. Now, what each of these pies represents is a specific standard, a content standard. And you can see that some of the pies are bigger than others. That's because we chose more topics in that standard. And some of the standards, we only pulled 1 or 2 topics from. So that's why they have smaller pie slices. Then you can see 2 colors on each pie slice. The darker color is mastered, which means they had to take a knowledge check, and which is basically just a quiz. They took a knowledge check on those topics, and if they get those topics right on the knowledge check, then it fills it in for them. So once they learn it, they do those 3 attempts. It's not actually learned yet until they take the quiz or the knowledge check, then it fills it in for them darker. If they get them wrong on the knowledge check or the quiz, they actually have to go back and do those topics again. Hopefully that explains it. That 71 in the middle means that on average, my students got 71 of 84 topics complete, which is about an 85% in that class. I think that was my period 1 class or something. Okay, so time and topic. This one isn't, this graph doesn't look that cool because we're out of school right now. So the current time is out of school. This is from June 3rd to June 9th. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a little bit. We'll come back to that, but just remember this is your time and topic graph, and it's actually the coolest thing about ALEKS. I got more explanation on that coming up in a second. Students not recently logged in. This is what I was telling you about before. Now, this is just for a class, but we were talking about before overall, out of all my classes, the students that were not recently logged in. So this shows exactly for each student your last ones, the ones that have not logged in recently. Progress overall, as you can see, I guess 5 of my students got 100% in my first period class, which means they completed every single topic and quizzed and got every question on the quiz correct in my class, which is pretty impressive, something that I don't think would have happened had I not been using ALEKS this year. Overall grades, we've got a bunch of 100% as well. Obviously, if I were to view them all, it wouldn't all be, they weren't all 100%, I promise. But you can see their overall grades as at a glance. If you wanted to view all, you would just have to click the bottom. This is really cool. These are topics that are ready to learn, and you could click on these topics and you could see exactly what they are. But my students, ALEKS has deduced that my students are ready for this content coming up. Now, I think these are later in the year topics because most of my students, like I said, about 81% of the way through the course is where they were at. So these are later in the year, but these are the topics that they're ready to learn. These are the topics that they've attempted, but they haven't learned, meaning these are the ones that they're getting wrong a lot. And we focused on these right before we took semester tests, but I think that's a really, really cool thing to look at and to have on your home screen. Things that you can look at to go back to and have your students do a little bit more work on so that they could get those right on their knowledge check. And then these are the ones that they had gotten correct when they did the homework, but then they got them wrong when they took their assessment. So about 50% of my students that got these right on the homework got them wrong on the assessment, which is something that is important to look at. These are just your assignments. You can see the grades. I think these are going in order of due date, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to show you more about that here in just a second as well, if you click the see more. But lastly, I wanted to show you the standards progress. Now, when I first looked at this, I was like, well, 3%, we're only 3% of the way through the standard of numbers and quantities. That's because we only put a couple topics of that standard in. As you can see, if I move here, you can see TD, which means the topics weren't in your pie chart. You didn't make them available for those students. So you can't get 100% on numbers and quantity if you didn't put more topics in on numbers and quantity. So maybe there was only one topic in that standard. But it's pretty cool. You can see the progress for each standard, actually. So that's pretty cool to see. Some other features. This is the one that a lot of teachers love. No more grading. I've got the students' names blurred out here, but these are the grades of individual students. These are how many topics they completed out of statistics, out of exponents, out of exponentials, polynomials, and graphing quadratics, and all that stuff. These are their actual grades. It shows everything, and then it gives you a total percent for where they are at on their ALEKS topics, which is very slick to just put into Infinite Campus or whatever gradebook that you use. Okay, so if you go into an individual student, which you can do at the top right corner of the page, you can click on an individual student in that class. This is time and topic. I said I was going to come back to it, and here we are. This, I think, is the coolest thing about the whole website. First of all, you can see exactly how much time they spend per day on ALEKS. So this student, you can see, was pretty sporadic, spent a lot of time here in March, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Didn't work on Friday, didn't work on Saturday, didn't work on Sunday. I sometimes don't assign homework either, so that could have been the reason. And then you can see here on Tuesday, they spent exactly 24 minutes and 58 seconds and learned 3 topics. And there were 0 that they attempted but couldn't learn. If I go even further into that, if I were to click on that bar, this is what this will show. You can see exactly what topics they were working on. So this student here, if I look at the beginning at 9:52, the student first, that little blue square with paper on it, that is an explanation. So the student first looked at an explanation before she started working. And then she got 3 of them correct in a row. The second time, on the second topic, she looked at an explanation. She got one wrong, which we're going to come back to. You can actually see exactly what she did wrong on that. She looked at the explanation again and then got 3 more correct in a row. So this is what it looks like if you click on the incorrect answer. It says the answer is incorrect. This is the answer that the student submitted. This is the correct answer. And the question was there on the bottom too. So you can see exactly what that student did. She pulled out a 4, but then she pulled a 4 out of a 6 and was left with a 2 when it should have actually been a 3. So that is the ALEKS in a nutshell, as quickly as I could go through it. If we need more information, I am more than willing to make another video. Thank you for watching. This was made on canva.com.